Tonight, March break is about to last until April.
I do want to be safe, so that is important, but I'm just dreading online school. I'm pretty sure we'll have to do that.
The province is shutting down schools for an additional 2 weeks after March break because of COVID-19 concerns. Plus,
I've been waiting for months to come down here, so we've had our fingers crossed hoping that it wouldn't be canceled.
a slew of public event cancellations, from sporting events to award shows, a drastic step that health officials say is necessary. And we'll tell you about a pilot project to help the Daily Bread Food Bank get food to people who can't get it themselves. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. We begin with some breaking news. The Prime Minister's office confirming tonight Sophie Gregoire Trudeau has tested positive for the coronavirus. The Prime Minister's office says her symptoms are mild, but she will remain in isolation, adding she's feeling well and taking all the recommended precautions. Now, she began showing symptoms, including a mild fever, shortly after returning from a trip to the UK. Prime Minister Trudeau will also stay in isolation for 14 days. Now, based on the advice of doctors, he is not being tested because he's not showing any symptoms. He does plan to address Canadians about this tomorrow. Well, it will be an extended March break for 2 million students across Ontario. The Education Minister announcing today, after tomorrow, all public schools will be closed from March 14th until April 5th, all in an attempt to curb the spread of COVID-19. Kelda Yoon reports.
Gabriella Gysi was picking up her son Thomas from school when she learned the news.
I'm speechless because I just heard about it.
And she isn't sure how to feel about it just yet.
It's really hard to say, but it's hard to say. I don't know if it's good, but I don't think it's a bad idea either. It's just
on one hand, she will now have to figure out additional childcare. On the other hand, she, like many parents, understands the need for precautions.
Surprised, but I'm glad that they're taking every precaution.
I mean, I'd rather be safer than sorry, of course, right? I mean, of course, you know, it's a complete inconvenience for everybody naturally, but again, what's the worst case situation, right? Leaving them in school and getting sick, yeah.
Andrea Pastori's son, Leo, is also in kindergarten.
I mean, there's other parents that we know that'll be in the same boat too, so maybe we'll be able to team up. And on days that he's misbehaving, I'll send them over there.
Education Minister Stephen Lecce says the decision was made based on the recommendation of Ontario's Chief Medical Officer, especially with so many families traveling for March break.
That is a prudent step, one where we recognize the difficulty it imposes. But our commitment, and I think a shared commitment, including of parents, is to do everything we can to ensure the safety of their children, given the vulnerability of young people and staff.
Lecce says following the 2-week period, the province will evaluate to see what other measures might be required. Despite the announcement, grade 11 students Marion Peters and Sydney Mack are still busy studying.
All of the tests, and when we get back, there's going to be a lot to catch up on, yeah.
And I think we're both kind of afraid it might get pushed into our summertime, but hopefully not,
I do want to be safe, so that is important, but I'm just dreading online school. I'm pretty sure we'll have to do that.
Lecce says the province will figure out how to make up the lost teaching time in short order. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, one bright spot in education for parents in the Catholic system: when school does resume, the threat of job action will be gone. There is a tentative deal tonight between the Ontario government and the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association. The union says effective immediately, all strike action is suspended. Teachers will hold a ratification vote on the new collective agreement April 7th and 8th. Terms of the deal aren't being released. OECTA is the first of Ontario's 4 teacher unions to reach a deal with the province. Now, returning to the COVID-19 situation, Ontario is confirming 18 new cases of the virus today as it readies new specialized centers to handle screenings. Lisa Shing has the latest.
We were getting, lab reports every few minutes. It was, concerning.
Ontario's medical officers of health explain what prompted them to suggest people avoid all non-essential travel out of the country.
We feel that at this point we have to act more decisively to protect the health of the public.
And for parents who are still taking their children on vacation for March break,
when you come back, you're going to be asked to keep the children out of public settings.
this as Premier Doug Ford headed to the Capitol today for a meeting between the Prime Minister, premiers, and Indigenous leaders on COVID-19.
We are here at a critical time, not just for Ontario, but for the whole country.
So that's Sophie Gregoire Trudeau.
But shortly after, the meeting was called off because Justin Trudeau and his wife were in self-isolation. So are many others. More than a dozen new cases in Ontario today, including a 1-year-old boy who was in close contact with another patient and attended North York General Hospital. Ontario's health minister announced more details about assessment centres for the virus.
It's really meant to take the pressure off the hospital emergency departments and to keep the people who may have COVID-19 separate from the general hospital population.
6 centres will open in the coming days, including at Brampton Civic, North York General, Scarborough Health Network, Trillium Health Partners in Mississauga, Mackenzie Health in Vaughan, and the Ottawa Hospital. More will open in the next few weeks. Ontario has also allowed doctors to do more assessments over the phone, and in the next few days, the province will also launch a website that will walk people through how they can get medical care based on what they need. Now, late this afternoon, the government also passed a motion that will allow them to suspend the legislature without officially having to prorogue. And considering next week is March break, we could see that break continue on for a little longer if the situation worsens. Lisa Sheng, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, a word about our program. You may have noticed this box in the lower right corner of your screen. We put it there, and we're putting information in that public health officials say is critical during the outbreak, including the symptoms, tips for protecting yourself, and defining things like social distancing. It'll be up during all of our COVID-19 coverage tonight. Now, speaking of social distancing, all day long our newsroom has been getting word of public events being canceled because of concerns around the coronavirus. Of course, the Leafs were supposed to play tonight until the NHL suspended its season. Now, Hockey Canada is following suit with minor hockey, junior hockey, and women's hockey seasons being suspended until further notice. Sunday night's Juno Awards are canceled, and classes at Western University in London are going online. Now, many health experts are saying that a crucial step in containing the spread of the virus is by preventing large crowds from gathering. And they'd like to see bolder action from government officials. Lauren Pelly takes a look at that.
Multiple sporting events all on hold. Major League Baseball, soccer, the NHL, and the NBA are all suspending their seasons. Sports fans are in support.
Can't pretend to be disappointed, but at the same time, people being sick over the sake of a hockey game, got to shrug your shoulders and get on with it, haven't you?
Now, we've been waiting for months to come down here, so we had our fingers crossed hoping that it wouldn't be canceled. And we didn't know until we got here that it was.
We were hoping to squeak the game in. Kind of had a feeling that it would be canceled due to the NBA, but...
Then there's the Juno Awards, canceled. And Toronto's annual St. Patrick's Day Parade, not happening.
Event organizers and businesses can also do their part in reducing virus spread by promoting social distancing measures.
Social distancing means avoiding big crowds and generally keeping away from others, which could mean skipping events or working from home. Toronto's medical officer of health is calling on all organizations to consider postponing events or holding them virtually. But city officials aren't canceling their own March break camps just yet and stopped short of calling for a full event ban.
Bans are fairly blunt instruments.
No word from the province on that front either, even as screening is ramping up and school classes are being canceled.
It's actually industry leading the way.
This infectious disease specialist says governments need to act faster too.
The just mathematics suggests if you're going to do this, you have to do this sooner rather than later. And so what I'm looking for from different levels of government is really clear voices about social distancing.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
A few more developments to tell you about. If you've been called for jury duty, you're going to be getting a break. The Ontario Superior Court is suspending jury panels for the time being. The province says if you've received a summons for an upcoming trial, you no longer have to show up. Now, as for trials that currently have juries, those will continue unless the trial judge orders otherwise. And Broadway's theaters are dark tonight, forced to close after New York State imposed a ban on all gatherings of more than 500 people. But here at home, Mirvish Theater Productions says their shows will go on. On their website, Mirvish writes, "We take our lead from Toronto Public Health, who are in constant consultation with their federal and provincial counterparts. At this time, Public Health has stated there is no evidence of community spread in Toronto. Our performances are continuing as scheduled." Colette Kennedy's here now with her first look at the forecast. And Colette, in the newsroom, there's been so much happening. It's been one of those hold on to your hats kind of days. And tomorrow, weather-wise, it's going to be a hold on to your hats, David, for another reason.
Yeah, exactly. The winds, we're going to be seeing the weather kind of paralleling things then in that sense. A very blustery day as we go into Friday. A look back at our daytime highs from today, kind of close to seasonal. In fact, a little bit above, but really things are going to be a roller coaster in terms of the temperatures. Rising as we go overnight tonight. We're going to hit our high for Friday tomorrow morning. See these showers getting a little more significant, the rain filling in here as we go through the overnight hours, but then tapering off. The early part of the morning commute might be a little bit wet, and then that's going to be pushing eastward. Only about 5 millimeters for the GTA, but more significant amounts further east. On the backside, a bit of a mix possible to the north of us, but we are looking at some very strong winds, so those will start to kick up, and that's going to drive our temperature down so it cools off into the afternoon. So having a look at those winds, we're talking about them turning around as we go towards tomorrow morning to the west first, and some of those gusts up towards 50 kilometers an hour, even stronger to the east, even stronger to the north of us, and it'll be blustery right through the day. In terms of the temperatures, just remember, warm in the morning, but that's the high. 8 degrees then overnight as the temperature rises. Then falling, Mike, tomorrow afternoon around 4 degrees, but we'll get some clearing. I'll give you a look at what's happening over the weekend coming up.
All right. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
To have a professional driver sitting there playing a game while in traffic, moving, nonetheless, it's absolutely appalling.
Coming up, a TTC bus driver caught on camera playing a game on his phone while driving. What the TTC is saying about it after the break. The defense team for the man accused of killing Tess Ritchie tried to raise doubt in the case by questioning a person they say is the real killer, not their client, Kaylin Schlater. Ali Chasson was in the court today.
Defense suggests the man they say really killed Tess Ritchie was out prowling for sex at 3 a.m., the same time Tess Ritchie was out with her friend Riley Simard and the man she had met outside a bar, Kaylin Schlater. We can only refer to today's witness as JG. His identity is protected by a publication ban. The defense asks JG about an interaction he had with Ritchie the night she died. He was taking money out at an ATM on Church Street when he heard Richie call out to him. She was standing arm in arm with Simard and Schlater across the street. JG. She initiated the conversation with me. She'd say, hey, hello? Hey, I want to talk to you. Defense attorney Lydia Riva. Why did you think she wanted to get your attention? JG. I don't know, maybe she was just interested in talking to me. JG described seeing Richie being pulled on either arm by her friend and Schlater. They wanted her to go in different directions. JG describes it as a tug of war and found it odd. But JG said he was interested enough to see if Richie was actually interested in him. So he caught up with the group by cutting through an alley. I didn't want to seem like I was following her or luring her. When he eventually crosses paths with them again, he said Richie called out to get his attention a second time, but Simard and Schlater discouraged her, saying things like, quote, don't go with him, don't talk to him. JG says he went home after that. But as their alternate suspect, the defense alleges JG went to the stairwell and killed Richie after Kaylin Schlater left. Defense attorney Lydia Riva, you assaulted her and there was a struggle and you killed her, right? JG, no ma'am. There was no physical evidence like JG's DNA found on or near Tess Ritchie's body. The Crown continues their cross-examination tomorrow. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
A TTC driver is under suspension tonight after a passenger caught him and filmed him playing a video game while driving a bus. Natalie Nanowski has the details.
Look closely. The bus is moving, while in the driver's hand, there's a phone, and he's swiping at the screen. Not something most TTC riders want to see, ever.
It kind of make me feel unsafe because while driving, you cannot use your phone. That's the rule.
I've never actually seen anything like that, and the fact that he got caught doing it, I think that's I'm happy somebody recorded him.
Corey Zirk captured the video yesterday evening when he boarded the Sherbourne bus. He noticed the driver kept looking down at his lap.
I looked down and saw his phone in his hands. At first I thought maybe he's just replying to a text, maybe his kid's sick, or then I saw what looked like colors coming across the screen, and it became apparent that he's sitting there playing a game in traffic.
That's when Zirk took out his phone to film what was going on.
To have a professional driver sitting there playing a game while in traffic, moving, nonetheless, is absolutely appalling.
We've seen the video. It's very concerning to us.
This morning, the driver was suspended. It's not the first time a driver has been caught using their phone. This video from 2016 shows a driver texting. And in 2011, the TTC fired 3 people for handling their phones while operating a vehicle. So termination isn't off the table this time around.
We'll be reviewing this incident and there will be consequences.
In a statement, a rep for the transit union told CBC that safety is of the utmost importance and that its drivers get Torontonians safely to and from their destination each day. It also said that it's closely monitoring the TTC's investigation.
No word yet on when that will wrap up. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a live look at downtown Toronto tonight. We're expecting to see some rain come in overnight, and then the winds will kick up tomorrow. Colette has your full forecast when we come back. There's mounting pressure on Olympic organizers to cancel or postpone the Summer Games in Japan over concerns around the COVID-19 outbreak. But today they made it clear it is going ahead as planned. That famous ceremony, they lit the Olympic torch in Greece today, and the Olympic relay began, but with only a limited number of invited guests on hand because of fears of the coronavirus. It is the first time in decades no spectators were allowed at the lighting ceremony. The Olympic torch will be carried to Tokyo by about 10,000 people over the next 19 weeks. The Games are scheduled to begin on July 24th. Colette is back now with her extended forecast. Look ahead into the weekend, and I guess our first look at what the March break holds.
Yeah, and having a look at what's coming to us in this next week, the first part of March break. I know it's been such a busy news day, and let's just give you a little bit of good news, which is we are a week away now from the start of spring. So it officially starts next Thursday on the 19th, comes in 11:49 p.m. So there's a little piece of good news for you. Also, that our average daytime highs are rising and our overnight lows just over 3 degrees would be typical, and our average low around -6. We're going to have a few cool nights over the weekend. Let me show you what's happening, because in the meantime, we've actually got a very mild night tonight. Temperatures rising towards morning. We'll hit our high for Friday in the morning hours. So the mild air unfortunately moves through in the overnight along with these rain showers. Then the cold front passes by, and that means we get into some windy conditions as our winds turn towards the west to northwest eventually. But westerly flow, and those winds will be gusting, as I was showing you earlier in the show, 40, 50, even 60 kilometers an hour, and stronger than that into cottage country and further east around Picton, even a wind warning with those winds exceeding 90 kilometers an hour. But looking into Saturday, although it will be a cooler air mass that moves in, we get some clearing. In fact, we may see some sunny breaks late in the day tomorrow and see some sunshine coming out. High pressure kind of taking care of us as we go into Saturday. Cloud cover, though, for southwestern Ontario, kind of a battle with the system that's to the south. That moisture should stay there, and the high pressure kind of wins out on this one. So Sunday looking sunny, but a northerly wind, so it is going to be feeling cooler. In terms of this rain overnight tonight, it's not that significant, so around 5-6 millimeters for Toronto, a little less to the north, but do know that into eastern Ontario, special weather statement there, it's 15 to 25 millimeters. So Kingston onward, that's where it may be a little more significant, and also lingering into tomorrow morning before it's clearing out for that area. For southwestern Ontario, our friends in Windsor, 3 degrees with those rain showers overnight and lingering into tomorrow morning. You can see some of the milder temperatures, though, as you push towards the east because of that rising trend with the system moving through. Sunshine into tomorrow afternoon, but the winds remain strong, gusting to 50, 60 kilometers an hour. So your temperatures are going to kind of dip and then come back up into the later afternoon hours. For the GTA, a look at those overnight temperatures, incredible as they actually rise towards morning. Yes, with the rain showers. First part of the commute a little wet, and then things drying out, and in the afternoon as those temps fall, we may even see a little bit of wet mix, some flurries to the north of us. It could come into our skies, very isolated though for the GTA. A look at Saturday then, still a little breezy perhaps, not too bad, 5 degrees. This is what I mean by some cooler overnights, and Sunday with that northerly wind, sunshine but 2, but that's okay. Monday, not bad, and then we go on our roller coaster ride. Buckle up, we're back up to 8 degrees, Mike, as we go into Tuesday.
All right, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Food banks are there for people who can't afford to buy groceries. But what happens to clients who can't easily get to a food bank or even cook their own meals? Loretta Redekop now on a pilot project that is trying to bridge that gap.
It's fish on the menu at the Daily Bread Food Bank's kitchen. Some of these meals will be frozen, then sent out to clients of the Red Cross. The two organizations saw a gap in terms of who they've been able to support.
Somebody who has most likely a mobility issue, a significant mobility issue, somebody who might be socially isolated.
It's a 6-month pilot project sending out 2,000 meals a month.
People who don't normally access food banks, whether that's due to mental health or disability or age, unable to open tins.
This project started at the beginning of January. We spoke with somebody who uses the service to see how it's going.
Paul says he receives one frozen dinner with his weekly grocery delivery. He's legally blind and has other health issues. We've agreed not to use his last name.
I cannot lift a lot. For me to go like to a food bank, it might be difficult because I get short of breath. You know, for people that are on low incomes, it's a tremendous help.
The Daily Bread CEO says today the organization worked on COVID-19 contingency plans, and the ideas from this program could help using deliveries.
We're going directly to people who are experiencing poverty. And so they're not coming into a larger grouping of individuals who are at a food bank. And so that might be of benefit to some who are quarantined or self-quarantined.
This volunteer, who's also a nursing student, sees the advantages.
Yeah, especially with right now. I mean, I'm sure there's quite a few people who are stuck. You know, if you're immunocompromised, right now you're probably not really leaving much.
The Daily Bread expects many more people will want to be a part of this. Once the pilot finishes, they'll look at possible expansion. Loretta Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's our newscast for tonight. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 11. Good night.